Hey guys, Michael Marshawn, your Ziegler licensed coach here, back with you again. Happy Friday. And we're getting into one that's near and dear to my heart here, the personal spoke of the wheel. And I think this is one of the most overlooked spokes, and one that oftentimes is not given nearly enough credit, or not the credit that it deserves. And I do think that this particular spoke plays a more pivotal role because of circumstances, because of the pandemic, because of everything going on. I'm really excited to get into this one today, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. Of course, if you have not, don't forget to like and subscribe because we do post these videos out every Friday, and we're coming to the end of this series, and excited to be wrapping up with you guys next week. So, the number one saying that I like is that you can't help anyone if you become a victim yourself. Now, I used to get this preached at me a lot when I was first getting started in the medical field, which seems like a lifetime ago now. But back when I was in my early 20s, I was an EMT. And what they would always tell us is that you can't just rush into the scene. You can't rush in to help people without fully understanding what's going on. Because if you end up getting hurt yourself, you're no good to anybody. So not only do you get taken out of the equation, but now they have to care for you and the person that you went there to help. So the bottom line of that is, guys, you can't give something you don't have. And I feel like we as a society, especially since the pandemic hit, are not very good at doing this. We're not very good at the aspects of self-care. It's almost looked on sometimes as if it's selfish. And I want to challenge that notion today because I believe that that is one of the best things you can do for yourself as well as for those that you care about. Because again, you can't give the encouragement, you can't give the motivation, you can't give the energy to other people if you don't have it yourself. So, what are we going to be covering today? Episode 7, we're going to cover the top 3 public health problems of 2021. And then we're going to give you one small habit that can change everything. Because again, this is about small changes and replacing bad habits with good ones. And then we're going to get briefly into the 10 components of the personal spoke, covering checking your technology. And then, of course, closing and action items because we want you to have some actions that you can take and not just the knowledge. So, briefly covering it again, this is the personal spoke. In the event that this is your first time joining us, again, this is part 7 of this series on the Wheel of Life. And this particular spoke is the personal spoke. And you guessed it, it's got 10 components. So 10 components that make up the personal spoke. So we're not going to cover each and every one of those in details. I'm going to give you the highlights. But without further ado, the top 3 public health problems of 2021. Now, you might have guessed it. Yes, COVID-19 is the number one public health problem of 2021. And unfortunately, that applies worldwide and not just here in America. But the second most, which you may have guessed, is the mental health condition. So, mental health conditions, whether that be depression, is probably the most well known, but there are many other mental health conditions that stem from that as well. And then compounded by that is the alcohol and substance abuse. And actually, right now in 2021, about 40% of adults struggle with some form of alcohol or substance abuse, which is kind of a staggering number if you really think about it. That's nearly 1 in every 2 adults has some form of dependency or struggle with alcohol or substance abuse. So I want to spend just a second on the mental health conditions because I firmly believe that mental health is a critical component of that. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has obviously exacerbated both of these. Mental health conditions have always been a huge public health problem. But I want to encourage you guys, if you've seen my other videos and you know my own struggles and my own story with the mental health, and I am and have been on an antidepressant since I started dealing with my sexual abuse. So if you're like me, my body just does not function the way it should in terms of chemicals. So I actually don't produce enough chemicals to balance and regulate myself. So I have to get those in the form of an antidepressant. There is a stigma attached to mental health. And I would love for you guys to not let that get in the way and go out and get the help that you need, whether that's just your family doctor, whether you see a psychiatrist, a counselor, a psychologist, whatever it is for you. Go out and talk to a professional and get the help that you need because at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to suffer. And by you suffering, that's going to have an impact on everyone around you. So one small habit that will change everything. Now, this is a quick little morning routine. It can be as long as you want it to be. Sometimes I'll spend an hour doing this. But generally, kind of the baseline, just getting into it, plan on 5 minutes because you want it to be super manageable and super achievable. So just spend the morning, first thing in the morning, allot 5 minutes to do these three things. So, first off, prayer. Second, positive input. And third, planning. So, if you just spend a minute in prayer, just a minute talking to God, if you're not a spiritual person, just spend a minute in reflection. Positive input, spend a minute reading your Bible or reading a positive book, reading something that's motivational. And then planning, plan out through your day. What do you have going on today? What are your key things that you have to get done? And within that, make sure you plan time for what we're talking about, that self-care. So block out, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, block out time for a walk, a power nap, to call and talk to somebody that encourages you. Whatever it looks like for you, make sure you're intentional with those things. And planning out your day is going to help you foresee some of the unforeseen things because you're going to be intentional with your time. And granted, you can't cover everything, but this will allow you to give yourself the best shot and the best possibility of having a successful and productive day. So again, the 10 components of the personal spoke. Now, a lot of these are going to look different for different people. So recreation, exercise, friendship, recreation is going to look very different. Some people are very active and love to be outdoors. Some people don't. Recreation is going to look different for them. Exercise, some people love running. Some people love biking. Some people love swimming. Now, whatever exercise looks like for you, that's okay. It doesn't have to fit everyone else's mold, but it is important that you have a consistent exercise routine just for physical and mental health. Friendship, some people have very large friend groups, some people very small. There's not a right or a wrong with that. It's whatever works for you. And then again, ways to give back, community activities, service clubs. Those are just ways where you're pouring out of yourself and giving to people in need. And then other things like appropriate social media. I think this is one that's often overlooked, but one that has taken a huge uptick, especially in the last couple of years, pre-pandemic, and even more so since people have been quarantined and kind of forced to isolate and stay home. Appropriate social media, that can be something that people may not even realize the amount of time they spend on social media. And that brings me to our next slide here. Check your technology. Now, my encouragement with this is I actually did this and I was kind of shocked the first time I did it. I did this about a year ago. I was shocked at how much time I was spending on certain apps because what it does is the screen time apps will track the whole 24-hour period. So it will give you a cumulative number for every minute that you spend on, say, Facebook, every minute that you spend on Twitter, every minute that you spend on TikTok. Whatever your social media platform of choice is, it's going to track and it's going to tell you exactly, okay, you spent 20 minutes here, you spent 20 minutes there, you spent 20 minutes there. So pretty soon you're up to an hour of social media time and you didn't even realize it. And this is an app that is available for both Android and Apple users. Apple, it's going to be the screen time setting. It's under your settings. If you're an Android user, they have a function called digital well-being, and that's going to allow you in your settings as well to monitor your screen time. And if you want to go a step further with that, maybe you do this or you have done this and you realize, okay, I'm spending too much time on this particular platform or this particular app. What you can actually do is go in there and limit the amount of time that it will let you stay in those particular apps. So, say for Facebook, you're going to allot yourself 15 minutes for the entire day. You put 15-minute limit on that, and at the end of the 15 minutes, it's going to pop up and it's going to tell you that your time is up, and it's going to force you to either enter a passcode so you can continue using it, or it's going to force you to close it out because you don't have any more screen time left. This is just a tool to help you build a better habit. Because again, this is just about making small changes. So even if you're not familiar with this, you've never done it, something as simple as just tracking it for a little bit, just to see how much time you actually spend and have a realistic look at it can be very insightful. So, final thoughts. Again, the theme of this whole thing is based off this quote by Tom Ziglar. The fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good ones. That's all we're trying to do here, guys, is make some small changes that will help us change the trajectory of our life. Self-care is not selfish. I firmly believe the opposite. Now, again, this is appropriate self-care. So it's not like you're just quitting your job and spending all day at the spa, but it has to be a balance like everything else in life. So what appropriate self-care will allow you to do when it's done properly is it allows you to renew yourself and renews your source of energy and encouragement. It allows you to renew yourself. So if you're depleted of energy, you're discouraged, you're feeling pessimistic and not positive, you're probably not going to be able to give any of those things to anybody else because you don't have them yourself. So, appropriate self care allows you to renew those things so that you can then go out and serve the community or serve the ones you love. So, despite what people may think and the stigma around it, I want you guys to focus on self care. It doesn't have to be elaborate. Again, it's small changes because small changes build on each other and small changes multiply over time. So, again, that's all I got for today, but I do hope you enjoyed it. And of course, as I do with every video, I want to put the offer out there that if this is something that you're struggling with, maybe you're realizing that you need help in this area or any of the areas that we've covered, really. One of my favorite things to do is get on strategy sessions or discovery calls and just kind of help people get clarity on their why, get them clarity on their direction, help them get a roadmap from where they are to where they want to go. And that's one of my favorite things to do. I do have a limited number of those, so when the spots are filled, they're gone. But I don't want that to be the reason that you don't reach out because I will get you on the calendar at my next available point. So nothing changes until something changes. Again, this is complimentary for you, but you have to take the first step and reach out to me. All my contact information is on the next page. Don't forget to like and subscribe and come back next Friday for more.